something just snapped in the market. And no, it was not a crash. XWEL moved 134.0%, while Nasdaq 100 futures finished up 0.18%. That's the kind of tape where someone with size is making a statement. Tonight we answer one question: real trend extension or a very expensive fake-out? In 10 minutes, we decode breadth, expose who actually got paid and punished, and map the events that... Okay, speed round. 1 minute, no fluff. S&P 500 futures, up 0.12% to 69.2.00. Breadth stayed supportive instead of relying on one megacap pocket. Quietly constructive, the kind of grind that frustrates dip waiters. Nasdaq 100 futures up 0.18% to 25574 or 450. AI-sensitive growth stayed in demand while valuation pressure eased. Quietly constructive, the kind of grind that frustrates dip waiters. Dow futures up 0.08% to 4927700. Cyclical participation confirmed risk appetite beyond software and semis. Quietly constructive, the kind of grind that frustrates dip waiters. Dollar direction stayed messy, so equities avoided a one-way macro shove. USD JPY printed 155.80, up 0.17%. Higher levels pointed to persistent carry demand tied. The story of the day starts with a fake-looking rally that didn't fade. Traders came in expecting digestion after recent highs, and instead the tape kept finding buyers. Setup: Nasdaq climbed 0.18%, and Axon ripped 16.04%. That's not defensive hiding, that's capital chasing growth with conviction. Conflict: everyone knows this only works while rates behave. US 10-year moved up 0.15% to 4.04. If yields had jumped hard, this would have cracked. Confirmation: S&P added 0.12% and Dow added 0.08%. For once, not just 5 mega caps doing all the lifting, and volatility cooperated. VIX at 1950, down 7.18%. That's the market saying, panic later. Insight: money paid up for evidence and clipped names with uncertainty, which is exactly why FSLR got hit. Implication: this regime is tradable, but fragile. If breadth stays broad, dips get bought. If leadership narrows back to a tiny clique, the party gets awkward fast. First trigger: tomorrow. WED. Feb 25. NVIDIA Q4. FY 2026 earnings after close. EPS 153, Rev 65B, DC 60B consensus. Beat and raise could push S&P towards $7,000. Miss or soft guidance risks overnight de-risk across AI complex. Second trigger. Then, WED. Feb 25. TJX and Lowe's Q4 earnings before the bell. TJX 138 EPS, Low 1.95 EPS est. Consumer retail health check. Strong prints support soft landing narrative. Weakness flags, consumer stress. Third trigger. Rates up plus narrowing winners and losers time. This is where you see who's actually putting money where their mouth is. Axon rose 16.04% to 513.51 because exploded plus 116% in pre-market after crushing Q4 earnings with record revenue and raising full-year guidance. Translation: buyers paid for proof, not vibes. XWEL rose 134% to 0.89 because microcap mania surged plus 134% on a volume explosion, though thin liquidity makes this a speculative outlier rather than a trend signal. Translation: buyers paid for proof, not vibes. OBAI rose 14.22% to 4.85 because AI-themed name catching a bid as the sector relief rally extends into day 2 ahead of NVIDIA's defining earnings print tonight. Translation: buyers paid for proof, not vibes. FSLR fell 15.28% to 206.05 because cratered 15% in pre-market as sector rotation accelerated out of solar into AI and semis. Translation: the market pulled funding from stories with execution risk. NVO fell 1.76% to 37.91 because GLP-1 leader pulling back as health sector takes a breather. Translation: the market pulled funding from stories with execution risk. FANG fell 2.10%. Forward look. Here's the part that can ruin a perfectly good thesis. Tomorrow, pressure point, WED, Feb 25. NVIDIA Q4. FY 2026 earnings after close. EPS 153, Rev 65B, DC 60 buy consensus. Beat and raise could push S&P towards $7,000. Miss or soft guidance risks overnight de-risk across AI complex. Then watch this. WED, Feb 25, TJX and Lowe's Q4 earnings before the bell. TJX 138, EPS, Low 195, EPS, EST. Consumer retail health check. Strong prints support soft landing narrative. Weakness flags, consumer stress. After that, into next week. WED, Feb 25. Tariff watch, 10-15% global tariffs active. SCOTUS challenge ongoing. Any escalation headline can tighten risk appetite fast, especially colliding with post-earnings volatility. Bull case, if the tape behaves. NVIDIA beats with strong Blackwell guidance, VIX drops below 18, and S&P futures challenge 7,000 in the overnight session. Asia records extend into a global risk-on week. Base case, highest probability for now. Choppy grind into the bell with TJX low earnings, providing minor moves, then a high volatility overnight reset once NVIDIA-related news, but with signal, no headline soup. NVIDIA Q4 earnings after the close, consensus 1.53, EPS, 65B revenue, 60B data center. The AI verdict arrives tonight. Every AI bull, bear, and bystander is watching one after-hours print. Morgan Stanley sees upside to $72 for next quarter. Blackwell chip ramp, margins near 75%, and forward guidance will decide whether the AI trade extends or reprices. This single earnings report can move $500 billion in market cap overnight. If guidance disappoints, the entire AI capex thesis gets stress-tested in real time. Meanwhile, this policy path feeds straight into yields, then valuation multiples, then growth leadership. Nikkei hits all-time high at 58,583, plus 2.2%. Kospi crosses 6,000 for the first time ever as Asia rides the AI wave. Japan and South Korea both printed historic records overnight. Semiconductor stocks led the charge in Seoul, while the Nikkei added 1,262 points. Hang Seng rose plus 0.7% to 26,766, and Shanghai gained plus 0.7% to 4,147. When Asia rallies this hard into a U.S. earnings catalyst, it signals global conviction, but also sets up a bigger reversal risk if NVIDIA stumbles tonight. While synthesis, plain English. Today's rally worked because breadth held while rates stayed civil. The market paid for evidence-backed growth and fined execution risk, so stock picking beat blind beta. If I had to bet right now, I'd lean with leadership that still has earnings air cover, hedge where estimate risk is rising, and size around the event calendar instead of candle FOMO. Earliest warning sign is simple. Leadership narrows while indices still look fine. That usually breaks late longs first. Base playbook. Choppy grind into the bell with TJX low earnings providing minor moves, then a high volatility overnight reset once NVIDIA reports. VIX spikes briefly regardless of direction. Before we wrap, one stat genuinely reframes how durable this move might be. Process beat. Okay, this stat genuinely caught me off guard. Asia just printed records while America waited for one number. Nikkei surged to an all-time high of 58,583, 2.2%, and Kospi crossed 6,000 for the first time in history, both powered by semiconductor demand, while U.S. traders sat on their hands waiting for NVIDIA's after-close print. Today's U.S. session is the trailer. The main event starts after the bell. And if NVIDIA delivers, this could be the week global markets shift into a new gear. That's not just trivia. It reframes today as a participation story, not just an index. If this saved you 30 minutes of chart staring, hit like and subscribe. Drop a comment with the one event you want covered before tomorrow's open. Market Pulse Daily lands every market day. See you in the next one.